There are wines that people say are the great wines of Australia or the great collections of Australia. This is one. So made by Bill Redman, father of modern Coonawarra. He died not that long ago, was my mentor, but Bruce Redman's grandfather, Bill Brand's grandfather. Lovely old fellow, older when I knew him and had stopped winemaking. But he was winemaker at what we now call Wynn's Coonawarra Estate, but in those days it was Coolmorm Estate, the old Riddock cellars. And Tony Nelson from Woodley Wines was basically in charge. Woodleys were based in Adelaide at Glen Osmond. They had cellars, old mining shafts in the foothills, the Adelaide Hills, and it was operated until not that long ago as a winery. Our winemaker Bruce Gregory worked there with Woodleys for a while. The story as I hear is that the wines were made by Bill Redman for Woodley Wines. Woodley Wines bought wine from Wynn's, made by Bill Redman. There got to be an argument later on in the 50s because the cellars were sold to David and Sammy Wynn. And there's an argument there about whether David bought it or Sammy bought it. What I hear, Sam, the father, didn't want to buy it, but when he went overseas, David, the son, bought it. That's what I hear from various people before you or my time. And so these wines were kicking around, a group of them were kicking around in the cellars at Glen Osmond. And Tony, original name Nielsen, I gather, changed it to Nelson in the war, get rid of the German or Austrian origin. He decided to release them as a group and put them in a distressed box that looked like a printed box that looked a bit like a treasure chest, so it became the treasure chest, the Woodley's treasure chest. He was, I believe, a very good marketer and was quite happy to spruik things up. One of the things that he did was the labels. He got a guy called Whit Morrow, W-Y-T-T, Morrow, to design the labels. Now, I've looked Whit up, you can look him up on the internet, and he's very famous for his artwork and for his design. And these label designers, who are big news in Australia now with the expansion of the wine industry, will tell you that this set of labels was a watershed in label design, and that rather than just pretty ordinary stuff, we see that with Grange, which is a pretty ordinary label, as to something quite special. So what I hear was that he put them all on one big sheet, all these labels which are embossed on great paper with great artwork, and put them on one big sheet and then sent that sheet around to all the Australian embassies around the world. It's like, this is the great Australian wine. As far as I know, I know of only 3 sheets of those sheets together. One's in the State Library of South Australia in the collection there. Valma Hankel, who used to curate that collection, has one, and I have one. It's up there on the wall. So this is the thing that's made the treasure chest stand out. One was a collection of different vintages rather than just one vintage. Secondly, in a box that made it look like a treasure chest, so a bit of a novelty thing. And the other one was the labels, other than the quality of the wine, which I've heard is mixed. I mean, some people will say that a couple of the vintages are a little bit weaker than others, but if you read what James Halliday and others are, I mean, they're all pretty good. I drank one, Coonawarra Vignerons, for the centenary of Coonawarra in 1991, had a very big do in the Intercontinental in Sydney, and we drank a chest to chest. And I have the bottles actually up there, empty now, of course, but it's just pure history. I mean, this is the history of Coonawarra. This is what helped put Coonawarra, I mean, look where Coonawarra is. It's a jot on a map. It's a small region in the middle of nowhere. Only here because it's really good dirt, some of the best viticultural dirt in the world by far, and can make outstanding wine. In the old days, it was all claret, it was blended, whatever's there. And so these are, Woodley's treasure chest claret. It's not labelled Cabernet Sauvignon, it's not labelled Shiraz. But what stands them out, of course, the quality of the wine, the gimmick, the name, and the label design. And this is pure history. You won't find these on the market. You won't find a collection of these on the market. You'll find occasionally odd bottles, and one of them, of course, Queen Adelaide. Is Queen Adelaide there in this group? And that became very famous, Woodley's Queen Adelaide. There's 8 bottles all up, and this is 6 of them. And this is fantastic. This is coming up for auction. You won't see its like. I doubt what you'll see its like again. I have heard that there are treasure chests in various collections. I don't know of any, but I've heard that odd collectors in Sydney and Melbourne have them. But I haven't seen one, even a bottle, coming up for auction for years. I'm sure they do. I don't follow the auction circuit that much. But it's Coonawarra history, pure history. This is the sheet. I did mention before that Tony Nelson got all the labels printed off on a sheet, and it's beautiful paper, and they're quite embossed. And if you notice, or whether you can zoom in, but there's no vintage on these. There's an area where they can put the vintage. But this is the sheet, and then they cut them off as necessary. We don't print them like that anymore. They're completely different. So as you can see, there are actually 5 Queen Adelaides on there, 1 Captain Cook, and all the others. As I said, I know of 3 of these in existence. There are probably more, but I only know of the 3, and this is one. So this is, once again, pure Coonawarra history.